Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 106 of the Not Joanna Eggs podcast. This week, Robin and myself are reviewing the 2017 Masaaki Yuasa anime film, Lou Over the Wall. It's a very fun, vibrant, colorful, interesting movie, especially when everything sucks. And if you want something that is fun and easy to watch, definitely check it out. So if you want to watch that in advance of listening to this, please do so. Then come back to the review. We hope that you guys are doing well and that you are taking care of yourselves and staying safe during this time. Yeah, I hope you guys dig this one, and thanks again for listening. Take care. Bye. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Not Joanna Eggs podcast. I'm Tracy.
And I'm Robin.
And today we are discussing one of the stranger but very iconic directors of Japanese animation, specifically one of his films. Apparently he had two films that came out in 2017, and we are talking about one of them today. The director is Masaaki Yuasa, and the movie is Lou Over the Wall. Mm-hmm. It came out in 2017, and the weird history behind this movie is that I guess that there were supposed to be some kinds of people had picked up on certain parallels with the movie Ponyo, which I can kind of see, but they're so different because the plot is just entirely separate from its subject matter wise. It's like maybe the Little Mermaid story is the most I could see of it, and there's one scene involving a flood, but that's kind of incidental.
Yeah.
And frankly, the people in this movie react a lot stronger. They react more realistically than the people in Ponyo did when their town got flooded. They had boats, they were having picnics and stuff. Oh yeah, this happens all the time.
Yeah, it was a little strange. Also, after it had come out, I think people had noted the similarities. And he was like, yeah, I was kind of, inspired by that because I'm influenced by Miyazaki and Takahata, but...
Also, being an animation director in Japan, I don't know if it's really possible to be, completely separated from them because there's going to be influences for anybody's work.
Yeah.
See, that's where the similarities end because Masaaki Yuasa's style of animation is so frenetic and crazy.
Oh, yeah.
And really energetic and fun to watch that, it really doesn't... There's no real comparison.
No. So, the other thing you might know him from, if you're a fan of Western animation, is he directed the Food Chain episode of Adventure Time.
Yes, he did.
Which I remember that being, a big, people were super excited for that to come out. And it is definitely one of their visually stranger episodes.
Which is saying something for Adventure Time specifically.
Yes.
And he was also involved with Devilman Crybaby, which was which was also an anime series that came out in 2017 on Netflix, at least here in the States. But he's kind of been involved in a bunch of stuff. He did some of the key animation for Samurai Champloo.
That makes sense.
I think he did some guest directing for Space Dandy, which I had not seen that much of, but I remembered hearing it was pretty good. You just kind of have to get past the character just being an anime version of Johnny Bravo.
Visually, it looks fantastic, but yeah, I also have not watched it.
Yeah, should we get into the overall premise? Just because the story itself is probably the most straightforward. The rest of his films are they're kind of known for being these sort of mind-bendy, strange sorts of films.
The basic story is sort of disaffected middle schooler gets...
Middle-aged middle schooler.
Middle-aged middle schooler. Jesus fuck. He gets dragged into this band and meets a mermaid, and...
As you do.
Hijinks ensue is pretty much it.
More or less, yeah.
Yeah, that's the very basic, bare bones thing. I also wanted to point out that Masaaki Yuasa also directs Keep Your Hands Off Izoken, which is pretty popular right now.
Oh, is that true? I didn't know that he was tied to... Oh, okay. Then I had watched some YouTube videos recently that was... I can only assume that the videos I watched were out of date because I did not realize that, but I had absolutely seen a lot of those girls, especially the one that has the really snotty look on her face, just a bunch of fan art of those guys. So I'll have to look that one up.
It's very popular right now. But anywho, so that Lou Over the Wall, this kid Kai, who is sort of this disaffected middle schooler who's not really sort of enthusiastic about anything. It's revealed that he is this YouTube DJ basically.
Yeah, I was gonna say that or SoundCloud rapper. That was the first introduction we get is him making a beat on his laptop and then uploading it onto their YouTube equivalent, and then people are just oh hey, this is you, isn't it, Kai? He's God damn it.
Two people from his class are oh, I know this guy, and he's fuck off.
I know where your house is. I know where that boat keeps docking every day.
Yeah, so
it's God damn it, you guys are doxing me right now.
So they drag him into it, and then through their playing on a nearby island called Merfolk Island, which is also an abandoned theme park.
Which is also separated by this gigantic wall that, because like the fishing village that he lives in is extremely prejudiced and hateful towards merfolk. Like they know that, or like some people believe that they exist. Other people think it's something else, but
I thought it had to do with the curse.
yeah, no, yeah, it was a curse. That's right. There's like a weird folklore thing involving it or whatever, but like essentially the merfolk have to stay in the shade. Otherwise, if they're in the broad daylight, they burn up pretty much. It's kind of vampire rules. Like there's a lot of vampire rules in this.
Yeah, well, and oddly, I guess in an earlier draft of the script, they were supposed to be vampires.
Yeah, I did remember reading about that.
Not as lighthearted as they wanted, so they went this direction instead.
Yeah, I mean, I could see that would be slightly more traumatic because it's like in this, like they may get bitten and become a mermaid, but they don't die. So, you know, it makes more sense consistently with like the tone that they want to go with.
Yeah, so Kai starts befriending Lou, who is the mermaid, and it turns out that when there's music playing, she starts dancing and grows legs.
It's a very cute little visual gag.
It is. It's so great.
Honestly, can we just talk about the introduction for a second? Because like,
oh yeah, absolutely.
It's so colorful and high energy, and I love the song.
Yes.
Within this 25 second clip of just them showing the credits and the name of the film, it kind of gives you like pretty much what you're going to be expecting to see. Lots of music, lots of color, lots of energy, and a lot of fun action scenes.
I love that. Yeah, well, I love that also because by then we've already seen one thing this movie does a bunch, which I loved, is it breaks into, for different reasons, it breaks into different animation styles.
And that's one of his signatures too.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is, but like Yuasa really enjoys going for very odd angles for things, like angles that you wouldn't normally expect to see in like a storyboard, like say like between somebody's chin, or like the proportions of them kind of change. Like it's not that they don't use character models, but it's like to exaggerate movements, like someone's butt will get like really big when they're trying to close in on it, like, and it's not meant to be a camera trick, it's just to play with the medium, which I love. Like it's
very
always
much like just playing with proportions and things for basically squash and stretch sort of purposes.
There's always just some kind of overriding sense of humor and wanting to push the limits of what animation can do, especially within something like hand-drawn and anime.
Yeah.
Because even when you see his work that he was doing on TV, like, he doesn't do, like, how, like, even on a show, like, some of the more popular ones, like Inuyasha or Naruto or something, where, like, they will tend to have certain straight-on scenes of just a character talking or, like, a couple of other characters to try to save on animation. That doesn't apply in a movie like this, because everyone's always moving constantly, even for, like, some dialogue scenes.
Yeah, well, it's like you said, like, I think you're right. The energy of all his movies is just frenetic. Like,
yeah,
it's always moving.
He doesn't
it's always
like to
high
sit
energy
down.
and fast paced.
Nobody in this movie likes to sit down, except to have clams that have too much sand in them,
or to ignore your friends.
Yes, and also to ignore your friends.
Yeah, I mean, that's the basic plot of it. What eventually ends up happening that sort of drives the conflict is the band becomes more popular and more well-known because of this mermaid girl. Mm-hmm. It spirals out into, like, they're reopening the mermaid park and they're bringing in tourists.
Which is always a terrible idea when it comes to, like, you know, like, if you've seen it in something like King Kong or in something like Jurassic Park, it's never generally a good idea to have some kind of tourist attraction or amusement park themed around a specific unpredictable either creature or entity of some kind, because shit will get fucked up.
It goes way out of proportion, and what eventually happens is, and this is like the final, like, God, I think like half hour of the movie maybe, is because that last sequence is pretty long. So basically what happens is, like, during their big performance at, like, the peak of popularity, Yuho and Kunio, who are the two friends who dragged Kai into the band, they, like, stumble and realize the music is still going, so they've basically not actually been playing.
Yeah, they've just been lip syncing the whole time, essentially.
Yeah, so they leave, like, they piece out of the venue, and when after that happens, Lou realizes that she is not surrounded by her friends. She's surrounded by sketchy-looking middle-aged men.
Some honestly pretty crude renderings of them, like, let's be honest. Where it's like the guy that was dressed up like Yuho was like, he's still wearing the crop top and the weird, like, angel, like wing top that she's wearing, but he's like, "Hey, my name's Gary. I work in consumer marketing when I'm not in a band." Like,
Yeah, I was really like,
I was like, that's honestly kind of insulting to Yuho, because like her dad owns the biggest employer in town, which is a fish processing company. So I was like, really? These are the people that you got? Like her grandpa was in charge of it too. Like he was the one controlling the theme park. Like you guys signed off on this?
seems wild, is what I'm saying.
It was a little silly. I don't know. It's a weird way of getting insurance for a performance to me, anyway.
No, I agree. So she freaks out and like disappears, and then simultaneously Yuho has decided to disappear as well. Then a bunch of like oldsters in the town are saying, "Oh, the mermaid kidnapped her. We need to like do something with the mermaid." And so they eventually capture Lou.
They put her in a cage in like this.
They put her in a cage. It was so.
It was real sad.
It was also bullshit because after Yuho shows up, they're still like, "No, we have to get rid of the mermaid." Like,
yeah, I was like,
you
she's
don't.
right there.
Clearly you don't. You're just a jackass.
The whole thing is that they put her in a cage so then they can lift up this open air tank, basically. That previously Yuho, Kai, and Kino were all cleaning out together. And the problem is that like it's like a big open air thing, so that when they open it up, Lou will basically burn to death in the sunlight, and then her big hulking shark wearing a business suit dad shows up, like desperately attempting to blend in, even though he's obviously 50 feet tall.
No, I just love him though. He's so great.
He's very, very cute. But but he also like he makes a big sacrifice because he's trying to shield Lou to make sure she doesn't burn to death. They didn't have to do that. She's right there.
Well, and then they trap them in like a giant, what looks like a giant like temple bell, and then surround that bell with like such high intensity bulbs that they must be like high power tanning bulbs or some shit.
Yeah, like, or just like honestly, just really solid quality spotlights that you would expect to see in some kind of outdoor show or something. That like it's the like the equivalent of sunlight for them, basically.
Exactly, right. That sequence is so weird to me because like they're aggressively going after the mer people at this point for no reason.
No reasons whatsoever.
No reason. But then the kids unite both to help get Lou out, but also in trying to burn her alive, they reactivate this centuries-old folklore curse that had been talked about previously, which was that if a mermaid dies on land in this town, then the waters will rise and flood the town or something.
Yeah, like how they have that gigantic wall that's separating Merfolk Island from the rest of the town itself. That entire area will be flooded up until I think it's like the mountains or like higher than like the top of the school, which is already up on a hill.
Yeah, they have like a specific idea of that because the folklore is such that like on this particular mound they burned a mermaid alive and the waters rose to collect her body and bring her back to the sea or something like that. So that's where it rises to or something.
Yeah.
But so Lou and her father and all the many mer people,
including the mer dogs. Can we talk about the mer dogs?
Yeah, wait, we haven't talked about this. So there's a scene, one of my favorite bits in the movie is Kai, after they practice with Lou one time, just takes Lou around the town, like exploring the town, and they go to a pound.
Yeah, like a dog shelter, basically.
And Lou makes the decision that any little girl would to immediately adopt all the dogs.
Well, first she wants to eat them, and then second she's like, oh, hey, I want to go bite them so then they'll become mer dogs.
Yeah, I don't know if she wants, like, she initially was like, food? No, not food.
Yeah.
And then she bites them because whenever a mer person bites someone, they turn into a mer person themselves, which we find out basically at that moment. So
honestly, I'm all for it because like you had me at merdogs. That sounds amazing. I mean, like I love seals. If you know me, you know I love seals. So the concept of having dogs that have like little fish bodies, like but they're still furry, so that's like cute. That sounds amazing to me. So like it's not fish scales, like it's not gross, and that's an important distinction to have.
Is it though?
Yeah, it is, because then they just look more like seals, and they've got cuter faces. Well, no, you know what?
They have cute little dog faces.
Seals already have cute little dog faces, but they don't have floppy dog ears, and I think that's a pretty important distinction.
That's true. That's true. So she adopts all the dogs, and they become mer dogs, basically. So they come back later, like, as part of the many mer creatures that try to save the town.
apparently they come out of Lou's father's body.
Yeah, there's a lot of them that just are attached to him.
Yeah, because like when you see them from a distance, they just look like polka dots. Like it's very creative. Like it's very cute.
Yeah, I just loved that whole thing.
Yeah.
And there's a couple things that like get resolved as like sort of minor issues throughout the movie. There's a couple characters who are very anti-mermaid, specifically. I don't remember her, Granny Octopus, apparently, or...
She's the little old lady that lives in town, and she has a murderous hatred of mer people and has been trying to harpoon them to death for years because I guess she lost her boyfriend at the time.
She lost her husband thinking that
it was her husband. Oh, okay.
Yeah. Thinking that they had eaten him. And of course, the end... She finds out they didn't eat him, they turned him into a mer person, and so he drags her into the water.
To prevent him from drowning.
Yeah. And a similar thing with Kai's great-grandmother, because his grandfather bore hatred similarly because he thought that they had eaten her as well. When in reality, she got, like, stuck under like a boat or something. It was really weird.
It looked like it was like some kind of like ship mooring or something, like, or I got the impression it was like maybe an anchor or something had pinned her down there when she was trying to collect shells or something like that.
Yeah.
And then a mermaid saw that she was drowning and bit her, so then she would survive. She swims back up to the top of the boat surface, but of course, because now she's a mermaid, she starts burning up. Then she jumps back into the ocean, and her son never sees her again. Then he started making umbrellas for a living, which does get a nice payoff later, which I like.
Yeah, so that's one thing we find out in the movie is there are only 2 industries in the town, which are making umbrellas and fishing. Let's talk about the umbrellas real quick and how those come as a payoff, because I really enjoyed that.
The reason that I like them so much is just because not only does it kind of show the antiquated, meticulous nature of Kai's grandpa, but it's also because Lou is basically only able to dance on the beach when they had their first big gig at this Lantern Festival.
Mm-hmm.
She needs to have coverage from the sun, obviously, so she's like doing this gigantic it's not quite a tap dance. It's just this really high energy dance. And it's so infectious that everyone else around them just starts going like basically full 1920s Fleischer, like very rubber hose style.
It's so good.
It's so great.
Yeah, there's 2 big ones and then there's like a shorter one at the beginning for the intro song.
Exactly, yeah.
But I do love that when she starts that dance that like it hypnotizes everyone and they immediately start dancing as well.
I mean, I was definitely tapping my feet. Like it was a good beat.
Yeah.
I liked it. It was really cute. She's a well-designed character because she's both really cute, but she's a little creepy.
And when you first see her, like, up close, she is 110%, like, ugly cute, right?
Yeah. I mean, she reminded me of, like, a Blythe doll, which I'm not sure if you're familiar with those, but they were popular dolls in the 1970s in the U.S., and now they are a big, trendy doll piece in Japan. Like, they really, they've just become, like, kind of like this well-known doll that has, like, a huge head, big eyes, like a little mouth and everything. And if you click something on the back of her head, her eye direction changes, or, like, the colors change. So that was what I got from it. But she's also got, like, the frog mouth that Masaaki Yuasa tends to like to use for a lot of his characters.
Yeah, absolutely. And then she's got these big sharp teeth.
Yeah. When they open up the Merfolk Island theme park again, the first thing that you see right around there is this gigantic merch area just dedicated to Lou because she's so cute. And I'm just like, having been to Japan, I was like, it's so accurate. There are character shops in the train stations.
Yeah.
Let's discuss the characters, I think, because this kind of has one of those tropes that I'm not 100% on where, I like it, but I don't. Where it's like the main character is so whiny and boring, and then the other supporting characters are way more interesting. But, well, you know, it's like they're constantly trying to build him up. Like I'm not trying to mention Ava, I promise, but he kind of reminds me of Shinji because it's like he's constantly trying to like find all this other like meaning stuff from other people. It's like getting to meet Lou is what gets him out of his funk, but it's just like his friends seem perfectly supportive, like they want to involve him and stuff, and he's like, no, I don't want to do that. I don't want people to know I do music. Bleh. And then of course when he finds out that his dad used to make mixtapes or whatever the fuck, and his mom was a dancer, that he's just like, oh my god, this is in my genes, I have to do this. So his character is a bit flat for me.
Sure. Well, I think what they were going for is that he's like kind of weird and disaffected because, as we find out throughout the movie, his mom isn't gone.
No, she's just they're divorced basically, or separated.
Yeah, they're like separated in some sense, and like I think things we don't know are like how recent was that because he's considered like the new kid in town. to an extent.
But he's still saving her letters, and like I to my understanding, I think he is angry because he believes that she chose her career over him, even though she is still sending him letters. And he thinks his dad is complacent because he took a job at like not a very like prestigious job at the fish cannery or whatever it is.
No, he just ultimately, I think he's mad at his mom for feeling that she like
abandoned him,
chose her career. Yeah, abandoned them, and I think he's angry at his dad for feeling that he like kind of settled on his life when he could have. It seems we find out later that there's a lot more to him, and that he potentially interesting character that we don't really get a whole lot of.
Since Kai is from Tokyo, of course that makes him super interesting to the other characters because presumably they've only ever lived there. But just looking at Yuho, I was like, she has idol written all over her. I'm like, why is she not pursuing this further?
Yeah, I love Yuho. She's one of my favorites.
She's a good time. Also, like the fact that her pigtails are just so full all the time is very cute. Yes. So it's probably a wig. Who knows? But it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I love her. Her and Lou are probably, like, for me, two of the most interesting.
Agreed.
Lou, just because she's really cute and energetic, and, like, her stated, I don't remember what they were doing when he was giving her the tour, but, like, oh, whenever you're doing this, you can, like, make a wish. And her wish is just everyone friends.
It's really cute.
Which is super cute. Yeah, I love that.
I really liked how they characterized Lou because, like, while she's both very cute, okay, and I don't know this for sure, but it seemed implied to me that she was a pretty young kid, like, just, disposition-wise, I guess, like, because she's not talking to Kai as though they're really peers, even for, a mermaid, like, even though she can understand Kai, she always talks with a very rudimentary, like, almost Tarzan-like voice quality, in terms of she's like, Lou, friend, everyone friend. She seems to initially look up to Kai as though he's like a big brother when he's like showing her around and stuff.
Yeah, and I think that's where they land on that.
Yeah, that's what I was hoping for, because by the ending, it still seems kind of uneven. I'm like, wait, so do they love each other or what? Wherever they were trying to go with that, if that was the case, if it was intended to be romantic, it seemed a little odd, because they're obviously way too different in terms of emotional intelligence.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and I think, so here's where I think, like, I don't think that there's, like, a romantic intention behind them, but I do think, because the way that Kai reads at the end is he's much more well-adjusted, he's much more, like, self-motivated to do things because it's his idea kind of thing, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
As opposed to, like, being sort of pushed or pulled around by people. He wants to do this, and he wants to, like, research the sea and things like this.
It seems to kind of, like, put a fire under his ass, where, like, before he's like, I haven't even looked up high schools. I'd just be like, dude, come on. Like, yeah. I mean, like, having been a former shitty, sullen teenager myself, just be like, come on, dude.
Yeah, who hasn't?
You're not helping. Come on.
I mean, yeah. The moment that sort of complicates it for me, and, like, where I don't know where I fall, is, like, when they're underwater swimming, which is honestly, like, such an awesome fucking scene.
It's very cool. But I know the part you're getting at.
Obviously, he can't breathe underwater, so she, like, kisses him to presumably put air in his lungs, but he, like, cartoony, like, blushes and kind of, like, melts when that happens.
He gets, like, that weird, like, kind of lovey-dovey, he starts blushing and everything, and I was like, wait, so is it because he's embarrassed, or did he enjoy it? Like, what?
Yeah, like, what are we going for there? I don't know.
I don't know. I think that in terms of how the story flows, it makes more sense in this movie. Especially because I like the twists and turns that they take where, like, they're trying to keep it secret, and then, they know that it's going to be like a gimmick for their band, but then someone's trying to capitalize on it, and then lose safety is at hand. Like, it's just... I think overall the stakes were a lot more relatable. Like, even if it is very fantastical. It's also a bit long, though, honestly. I think they could have shaved about 20 minutes off and not missed anything.
Yeah, it definitely feels like it kind of, like, it takes its time in some ways that it doesn't need to. That last big set piece of, like, saving the town from the flood feels very long.
Yeah, I felt like they could have kept that to a solid 10 minutes, honestly.
Yeah, it just feels like it could have been chopped down a bit. It's so visually interesting and so much fun to look at that...
You kind of let it go.
Yeah. That's pretty much, like, my thought on it.
Mm-hmm. And I will say this, I really like the music a lot, too. Like, there's a reason why they have it pay off so much, or, like, why they keep well, it's such a recurring motif within the entire thing, because like this town, it's not like Footloose where they just like out and out like just ban rock and roll music in general.
No.
Everyone does it as like a precautionary thing. They're like, do not play music next to the water because you will attract mermaids and you will potentially jeopardize this town. Which is like, that honestly, that sounds shitty, because then if you have a cafe right by the bay area, then like, oh, okay, I guess we just can't have any live music. It's just dead silence all the time. And be like, so how was work? And it'd be like, fine.
Yeah, no, you know what, the music thing to me reads like the joke in Mean Girls. Do not play music near the water or you will die.
Which isn't helped by the fact that there is this like, there's these very ardent anti-theme park people.
Oh, yeah.
Obviously, it will affect the fishermen trying to get trying to earn enough money, because this is already a pretty economically depressed town. It's like, it's technically a company town, which is like, that's rough, like if you
absolutely.
if you look at certain areas of Appalachia, like once the coal mining industry dried up around there, the jobs basically left with it. So like, obviously they're going to be trying to fight for like going to different bays and stuff and fishing around other areas to try to recoup any of the whatever they've been losing recently.
Yeah. Well, and that's one of the things that gets introduced early on, right? Is that you can only fish on the inside of the wall, and fishing outside that is forbidden.
Yeah.
I do want to point out, because it was one of my favorite moments in the
go
movie,
ahead.
because it's so dumb. So early on, when they're leave Merfolk Island, they're taking their boat back, they run into like some poachers basically, and one of them's like, you're messing with the wrong guys, and then he like kicks a rock, and I'm just like, this is the least hollow threat you could like. Nothing that just happened is scary. You're just a dipshit on a jet ski.
Don't make me throw one of my water shoes, because I'll do it.
I will do it.
Now you're out one shoe, stupid. Oh, yeah, I didn't think that far ahead.
Of course they didn't.
Yeah, of course not. But I like that the fact that Lou can apparently harness the powers of water and just basically make rectangles of water that occupy the same space as the boat. Like, it's cute. I love the color schemes in this. Like, just the color palette in this is absolutely beautiful. One thing that was a little bit difficult for me, because I did end up having to pause the movie quite a bit to just not miss certain parts of the story. But that's kind of a thing that his movies do in general anyway, is that they have very fast-paced dialogue. So I would use a pause button if you need to. It's not quite as bad as how Promare was, where it's like you miss actual huge plot points because there's so much action and shit going on at the same time.
I would say Promare is like very loud and there's lots of things happening. This one's just trying to move very fast.
Yeah.
Like, I'm very fast, I'm so fast.
No, yeah, you gotta go fast, but...
Yeah.
I mean,
you get it.
Yeah, oh, of course. Just in general, I would say absolutely check this out. Like, his movies deserve more viewers, I think. Like, because, okay, he's a weird dude. Masaaki Yuasa is a weird dude, just like based on looking at the material that he wants to make movies for. But I respect him because he's not going after the most commercially viable things. He's doing stuff because it intrigues him or there's something about it that appeals to him. So that's why he's making it. But at the same time, it's hard for him to get like people that want to work with him. Not because he's a dick, like just because it's tough to market them, because like you're not guaranteed to make a ton of money like you would be from working in a different studio. I think he has a similar fascination with kind of like dreamy, artsy kinds of qualities that Satoshi Kon had in some of his films, like obviously pushing the medium to a more cartoony extreme. But I think some of the similarities are there. It's just like there's less cerebral aspects to it. It's just kind of fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, any other closing thoughts, really?
I think I've pretty much said most of the things I wanted to say. Like, I just think this ultimately, like, this movie is visually, like, a lot of fun, and it's sort of enjoying that is really what it's about to me.
It was honestly, like, a much-needed happy movie, because things have been so overwhelming and depressing recently that it was like the instant that song came on in the opening, I was like, oh, fuck yeah, I'm here for this. Like, just like getting into it and like, just like, you know, shuffling my shoulders back and forth in time with the beat. And I'm like, oh, this is cute. This is definitely, it's a good movie to put on whenever you're sad, because it's very bright and very fun.
Yeah, it's 110% like a mood lift sort of movie to me.
Absolutely. I guess handles now. I guess you were trying to keep this one kind of tight, so
yeah. Well, and I don't. The problem is, like, again, it's one of those movies that's so visually striking that, you know, it's hard to say more than like watch it, because it to really enjoy it and understand what makes it appealing, you have to literally see it.
No, yeah. I mean, like it's
Right.
it's kind of like with say like a movie like Paprika. It's like describing it does not do it justice. You just kind of have to see it.
Yeah, it's just visually enjoyable because there's a lot of things happening.
It's not a dense frame. It's just an entertaining frame. So, yeah.
Yeah, we're not talking Michael Bay here.
No, not quite.
Tracy, where can they find you online?
Thank you, Robin. They can find me via @TCTroush on Instagram and Twitter. We also have our show website, which is notjoannaeggs.tumblr.com. I have not updated it recently. I guess like my new website will be having like it'll still have some episodes and stuff on there, but honestly, probably the easiest way is just going on your local podcatcher, local as opposed to like their regional podcatchers. Sorry.
The idea of go to your corporate podcatcher.
For just pennies a day, you can sponsor this farmer's market podcatcher, grown fresh on our garden.
Organic podcatcher.
I mean, I did just pick some mint out of my garden to attempt to make a mojito and totally fucked it up. Yeah, I mean, like, if you want some farm fresh podcatchers, give me a call. Or don't, because I will probably screen it and I won't pick up. But no, like, aside from that, if it's easier for you to find our episodes on YouTube, just look up Not Joanna Eggs, and you'll find us on there with our little head logo. And yeah, Robin, where can they find you?
As always, I am lobster_writer on Twitter and lobsterwriter on Instagram.
Cool.
You can also find me. I recently just started up a new podcast called Tabletop Buffoonery.
Yes, you did.
Yes.
Oh boy.
With two of our good friends, and it is me trying to corral them into playing D&D to middling effect.
Yeah.
So you can find that.
You did your best with them. You knew their limitations. You kept going. I salute you for sticking with it.
It only gets worse.
Oh no!
Like
worse as in it's tough for you to corral them.
Yes.
From what I had heard, I really liked it. So definitely check that one out. Tabletop Buffoonery.
Tabletop Buffoonery. You can find us on. We just got approved for Apple Podcasts, and we're on Radio Public and all the whatever podcast you use.
You have a Twitter handle for that too, don't you?
Yeah, it's @TabletopBuffoon.
Nice. That's a good handle.
It is. I'm pretty. Actually like it a lot.
Yeah,
so
that's good.
As always, thank you so much for listening, and we'll talk at you next time.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
Bye.
Hey guys, thanks again so much for listening. Our intro music is Don't Hold My Breath by Ben Briggs. The outro is Wet Dreams by Phonetic Hero. Both were found on ocremix.org. If you like the show, please subscribe, rate, and review us, or tell a friend to check us out. We're on iTunes, Stitcher, and anywhere else you get your podcasts. Find the show website via notjoannaeggs.tumblr.com. Follow us on Twitter via @lobster_writer and @TCTroush. Not Joanna Eggs, because animation is for everybody.
But sir, I don't like any of those options.
Choose wisely!